what has been the focus of your campaign, and do you see any intersectionality with you as well as the Republican Party and the Democrat Party?
Well, in so many ways, what we're trying to do in my campaign, and it's a moment in the movement, it has linked to Martin Luther King Jr., Fannie Lou Hamer, and Rabbi Herschel Edward Zaid, and others. And it's really about the abolition of poverty, abolition of homelessness. It's really about making sure U.S. foreign policy is not enabling genocide, not reinforcing an ethnic cleansing or apartheid-like rule. It's an accent on the moral and the spiritual dimensions of American political life. That's really what we're about, you see. And yes, we know that the two-party system is so narrow, both parties so tied to big money, but we're concerned about America's relation to the world and to make sure that we are in solidarity with poor and working people around the world.
What does that say about the fact that Americans should be able to sit down and talk to each other at that table of brotherhood with their differences of opinion and find a way to agree to disagree, but still find a way to live in harmony?
And so we got to be able to sustain both a spirit in which we disagree, mediated with respect, and sustain a spirit in which we recognize both of us could be wrong. So we had to be self-critical or Socratic in that deep sense. Now, I also speak as a Christian, you see, so I believe that each and every person has the sanctity and the dignity that no political system can crush. And because of that, I can actually have a deep love of a person who I have deep political disagreements with.
So let's go to October 7th then. The attack, Hamas, a proxy of Iran, which still says death to America, death to Israel.
That's
Little
wrong.
Satan,
That's
big
immoral.
Satan.
That's right.
And then last night here on the floor, we heard from the families of the hostage Hirsch Goldberg.
Yes.
And he is still in captivity, some 11 months now.
Yeah,
and what we saw on the floor is that when they express that pain, doesn't know any particular side. And the pain of their family, missing their son, and the 109 hostages still missing, as well as on the other side, seeing innocent lives lost because of that attack that initiated that.
That's right.
There were people breaking down in tears on the Democratic floor.
Absolutely.
What was your response to that? When
I didn't see that moment, but I'm glad to hear it, because we ought to shed tears when any innocent human being is being murdered. Murder is murder. At the same time, of course, they shut down the possibility of a Palestinian speaking, talking about the murder of Palestinians, and we'd want to see the same tears. I want to see the same tears for Palestinians, Israelis, as I said, Americans, Brazilians, Ethiopians, Chinese. We ought to be morally consistent persons. Murder is murder. Occupation is occupation. Domination is domination. How do we remain in contact with the humanity of each other?
What's your hope for America?
My hope for America is that it could fall in love with the struggle for truth and justice and love. And by love, I mean steadfast commitment to the welfare of other people, no matter what gender, color, culture, national identity. And that requires a moral and a spiritual renaissance of falling in love, especially with the most vulnerable, poor people, working people, not just here, but around the world, in the face of what? What's inside of all of us? Greed, hatred, indifference. And when you have systems of organized greed, wealth inequality, people living like kings and queens, people walking around like paupers, something's wrong. Something's wrong.